Are there any drummers in the house?
I play percussion.
That's because you couldn't play anything else.
Shut up.
Come here, dude.
Hey, man. Did you touch my drum set?
Nope.
It's just weird, because seems like someone definitely touched my drum set.
Yeah, that is weird. 'Cause I didn't touch them.
I am warning you right now, if you touch my drums, I will stab you in the neck with a knife.
Not quite my tempo. It's all good. No worries. Here we go.
Hey guys, we are on Patreon, so if you want to help support the podcast and the overall Drumheads community, go check us out on Patreon. We've got multiple ways you can contribute to the podcast. So if you want to donate $1, you want to donate $2, you want to donate $5, whatever amount's comfortable with you, every little bit helps. You know, we're trying to make this a bigger and better thing for you guys. We're going to start dropping the podcast part of it and just call it the Drum Heads. So just a little FYI. So this is going to be more of a bigger thing. You know, we're going to try to reach out to more people and things like that. So it just helps the podcast, helps some of the internal costs as well. There's a lot of stuff that goes into making a podcast, surprisingly. So if you could donate whatever you can, like I said, $1, $5, $1,000, $100 million, $1 billion, whatever you got laying around. If you got $1 billion, just, you know, send it my way. We will be sure to put that to good use. But if it's $1 or if it's $5, we'll put that to good use as well. Also, if you want to be like a sponsor of the podcast through Patreon, so if you want to have like a 30-day like feature on Instagram where you want to show off your new drumstick company or your new snare drum company, $50 will get you a whole 30-day. You know, I will repost everything you put on Instagram, so you know, and I'll encourage my followers to go like and follow your page and all that stuff and check you out. And if you want to be on the podcast, so if you're like a new band or you're a young drummer trying to get your name out there, you can also donate $100 and be on the podcast. So it helps the show just continue to grow. So also be sure to go like us on Facebook, go follow us on Twitter, go like us on Instagram, which you probably already are. Subscribe to us on iTunes. You can also find us on Google Play. And also there is an official podcasting landing page that will take you back to all the episodes that we've released. And there's some good ones in there. So if you're new to this, go check it out. iTunes, Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, all of it. So again, thank you, and just help continue to grow the Drumheads community. Not Drumheads podcast anymore, just the Drumheads. Because that's what we are. We're all just Drumheads. Talking back and forth, blah, 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 blah. So yes, go check it out, and I would love you forever. Thanks. Hey guys, welcome back to the Drumheads podcast. My name is Daniel, and this is episode 88 with Frank Zummo of Sum 41. What? Yes, it was great to have Frank on. This is what I love about the internet is things just come out of the blue sometimes. I've been familiar with Frank and all his stuff with Sum 41 and Straight Drum Corps. And so I got an email one day. It's like, hey, I'd like to be on your podcast. I'm like, what? You would? Okay, cool. Yeah, let's do it. And it's like, whoa, it's almost like every day I can't believe, people are interested in the podcast, interested in what, you know, we are doing and all that. So to have like someone reach out, you know, who is a big time drummer and like, hey, I want to be on your podcast, it's like affirmation, like you're actually doing something right. Because I always feel like the podcast is still like on the kind of, you know, on the DL. It's kind of on, you know, not on the radar yet, but I guess it is. So it's very, you know, humbling. It's very flattering. And I'm just extremely grateful for Frank being on. It was great because we had been working out for a while. We had, you know, worked on some dates. And so we worked on a date. And it was funny because he was over in Finland. So he called me via Skype from Finland, Helsinki. And so it was in the evening for him, and it was 9 o'clock in the morning for me. So if I sound a little tired-ish, that's just me waking up and just, you know, getting out of that, you know, kind of haze in the morning. So but it was great to have Frank on, learned a lot about him. I went on Wikipedia before I did the interview, kind of just do a little research, get maybe some back information, and it said he was born in Columbus, Ohio. So I'm like, okay, you know, when we started talking, I'm like, oh, so you grew up in Columbus, Ohio? He's like, I did. I'm like, well, Wikipedia said you did. He's like, nope, Long Island. I'm like, oh, great. Thank you, Wikipedia, for letting me down yet again with false information. So it made me look like a giant a-hole. But Frank was like, you know what it is? It's the internet. It's all right. It's not a big deal. But me, I'm like, oh, can't believe I trusted Wikipedia. Damn you, Wikipedia! So, it was just, one of those funny things. It's like, you think you're, like, really doing some hardcore research, and you're like, never mind, I'm just kidding. So, but yeah, it was great to have Frank on. Just learned a lot about his history, learned about, his work with street drum corps, getting into Sum 41, and just all the other stuff he's involved with. He's got a great-looking kid. He's one of those guys that's really bringing, drums back into, like, the mainstream again. He's like, kind of like a Travis Barker, where he's got like a style about him. He's got like a very high energy quality to him, who's just like, he's after it. He's just, woo, I like that. I like that enthusiasm for being a drummer and really just like pushing the boundaries of music, fashion, drumming, all that. So it's great to see how, see someone like that really bring drumming to the forefront. And so go check him out on Instagram, Facebook, Twitter, all of it, and you can also follow, he's got a clothing company called Ghost Circus that he's affiliated with, so go check them out as well. And just go check out Sum 41. They're one of those bands, I listened to them in high school, and then, I kind of fell out because, you get older. But when I saw him join Sum 41, I'm like, this is interesting. Let's check it out. And I'm like, I'm really digging almost the new vibe. It's like a renaissance of Sum 41 and like just a high energy, rock album. It's more, it's still got the punk sensibilities, but it's just more edgy. I like it. And I think that's part of Frank's drumming and just his energy he brings to the band and to the music. So just go check them out as well. So here it is, episode 88 with Frank Zummo. Not born in Columbus, Ohio, born in Long Island. Get it right, Wikipedia. Bam!
Hey guys, welcome back to the Drumheads podcast. My name is Daniel, and I am joined by Frank Zummo of Sum 41 and Street Drum Corps. How are you, Frank?
I'm good. Just getting into Helsinki, wrapping up our European and UK run right now. That's been going for 9 weeks.
Nice.
43 shows, and I just did the stats the other day because I love just to see when you wrap something kind of what everything is and looks like. But it was 9 weeks, 43 shows, 16 countries, and over 100,000 people or something crazy like that. Like it's been an amazing tour, and I think the biggest tour of the band's career over here. I mean, we've been doing arenas and just massive venues. So we're just at the end of it now. Two more shows.
Yeah, it looks amazing. I've been watching the videos you've been putting up on Instagram and Facebook and all that stuff, and it's like, wow, this is incredible.
And the audience have just been mental. I mean, it's just the energy and just, we play for 2 hours straight, and these kids go mental for all 2 hours, and it's just such a amazing energy that's been over here to help get us through a 2 hour show. And the craziest thing is, this band's been around for 20 years now. The audience is still young, like it's the band's first year. I mean, yes, it's there's some parents that take their kids that were fans of the band when the band came out, but the entire floor of these arenas and venues are just young little kids going mental, and it's been really cool just to see how kids are discovering a band that's been around for 20 years, and it's still so young, and it feels like it is the first album, for the band, which is pretty cool for me being the new guy to see that. I didn't know how the crowd was going to be, and just to see that they're just so young and the energy and all that, it's pretty amazing.
It is, yeah, it is, because they came out when I was in high school, so I'm kind of dating myself. So
yeah, probably me as well. Yeah,
and I remember they were the hot pop punk band. But, I guess now, they, Sum 41's changed their sound, quite differently, in a good way, to accommodate, different sensibilities and the styles of music that's going on today. But at the root, they're still, a punk band.
Totally. I mean, it's definitely got a lot of elements of, just from all of our backgrounds, from hip hop to metal to punk to pop. It's kind of all in there. But it's definitely the new record, compared to the first record. Kids in high school, just having a fucking ball, to now, our singer almost died. So there's a lot of stuff and heavy stuff to talk about on this record. It's the most personal, record and all that. But again, in this 2-hour show that we've been doing, we're playing all the records, and the career, we're not leaving anything out. So it's been cool to be on that journey and play all that music, from all these different genres. And it's cool just to have all these different genres and influences, because it's all in all of us, and being a drummer, it's fun, especially all this crazy, metal shit we're doing, and, a lot of double bass. And it's funny because, so many kids will, see my kit that just know Sum 41 but aren't really fans or know the music, and they're like, why do you have 2 kick drums? It's punk or pop punk music. And I'm like, you got to listen to the records, and it's I'm not using a double pedal, or it's not just for show. Like, I'm playing the shit out of that second kick drum, because a lot of the stuff on the Chuck record and even some of the early records, there's just insane double bass ripping through some of these songs.
Yeah.
So, I felt it was right. I'm like, like, it's easier for me, I grew up a metal kid, and it's easier for me to play on 2 kick drums. And I was just like, these guys got 3 Marshall stacks on either side of the stage. I'm like, fuck it, let's bring the big rock kick back with a big old gong.
Yeah,
and I'm gonna use both of them in the show.
Yeah. I mean, why not? Like you said, you got the Marshall stacks right there. There's no reason not to have 2, kick drums, for sure.
Totally.
Cool. Well, let's talk about your drumming background. So I'm looking up you on Wikipedia, so I don't know how accurate this is.
Oh man, I've never seen it, but I've seen some excerpts that people have posted online, and it's like, I don't even think it says I'm from New York, and my age is completely wrong, and I think a fan just put that up.
Well,
so it's probably out of sorts. But
it says you were born in Columbus, Ohio. Is that correct?
That is so false. I was born in Long Island, New York, and lived there for until my early 20s, and I've been in California, since. So and have no family there. I don't know where the fuck that came from, because if you look up anything from me, it's Los Angeles and New York.
Yeah.
I don't know how that one. Yeah, and I think it says I'm like in my early 20s, which is not true either.
It doesn't have an age, but
I guess that got taken down.
It got taken down. Yeah.
Because kids were asking me at the shows my age, and I'm like, why do these kids keep asking me that? And then I finally figured out, because it said I was like 22 or something on the Wikipedia. I'm like, no, definitely not 22.
Well, I was like, maybe Wikipedia's right, and other places, I'm like, we'll just ask,
Yeah.
Well, I mean, I'm guessing you're Italian, right?
Yeah, I mean, I'm like probably 90% Italian, and like there's 10% French. But I mean, I was born and raised in America. So.
I have Italian in me as well, but it's like, we don't speak Italian. We make good pasta, but
exactly.
Yeah.
My great grandparents were from Italy and came over on the boat, and then had my grandparents in America. So it's definitely in the family line, and my grandparents, and my parents cook, those great grandparent recipes. So I was definitely brought up on the heavy Italian, food. And, my grandparents definitely knew Italian. They did speak it. I mean, I know all the slang stuff, but I can't hold a conversation. Definitely not. And, I would like to learn it and do a proper Italian vacation with my family when time allows. We were just there on this tour. We did Rome and Milan and Padova, and we actually got a day off in Milan and a day off in Rome, and that was fucking amazing.
Yeah.
And we played some really big shows there, which was really cool.
You could spend a week in Rome and still run out of time looking at stuff.
I know.
It's a great city. But yeah, so you grew up in Long Island, not Ohio, and so did you come from a musical family, or were you kind of the lone wolf?
Literally in all musical family, but singers, opera singers, rock singers. And theater, a lot of theater people. My grandfather was a producer director for off-Broadway theater, and my dad was a drummer, but it was more of a hobby, for him. And him and my mom were actually met. They were in a band together. They went to high school. They were in a cover band together with my uncle. It was like this total family band, and in my parents' apartment when my dad had his Ludwig 70s kit set up. And my parents said one night after dinner, I was 3, I walked away from the dinner table and walked into the bedroom that the drum kit was in and just started playing. And then that was it. Then my dad figured out how to put phone books on the stool so I could reach. And so I never learned on a little kid, plastic kit. I had his Ludwig kit, which I actually still have to this day.
Oh, nice.
It's funny because he never gave me a lesson. We never jammed together. He used to be a radio DJ in college. He gave me all his records and a headset of headphones and his drum kit and was like, here you go. And then when I was 6, I went to actual, to lessons at the Long Island Drum Center, and competed there for years and did that for a long time. And then in high school, I started studying at the Drummers Collective in Manhattan, which was amazing. That's where I got my ass handed to me. I mean, I went as far left field as I could because I didn't want to just go with a rock guy or a metal guy. I went with Bobby Sanabria, who's a Grammy-nominated or winning, Afro-Cuban guy.
Yeah.
And this guy showed me shit and taught me things that I mean, literally, your right foot, left foot, right hand, left hand are all playing different time signatures and different rhythms. And it drove me insane because it was so hard. It was the hardest thing ever. And I would show up sometimes and not be able to nail it. And he would send me home. And he'd be like,
wow.
go back to Long Island. Go, you're not ready, And he was really hard on me, but it taught me so much stuff that I was able to bring back into street drum corps. There's a lot of Latin things that I put into that group that are Bobby Sanabria things that I learned. And then I also studied with this guy, Brad, who was a Broadway guy, and he helped me with my reading, which was amazing. And then one of my mentors was Dom Famulero. Dom taught me at an early age how to hold the drumsticks the right way, learn the molar technique, and posture, and my motivation. I mean, that guy doesn't even need to play drums. He can just go, probably make a living, be a motivational speaker.
Yeah.
But he really inspired me, and his drive and everything that I still, use to this day. And then I even had this guy, Chuck Bonifonte, who was a big rock guy, and I went to him in high school as well. So I just really tried to just well-round myself because the whole thing was I didn't go to college. I just want to do drums and music for a living. So I want to just not put myself in a corner where, Frank's just the rock guy. I wanted to be able to take jazz gigs if I needed to, or funk gigs, whatever it would be, and no reading. And I even went out on the Holland America cruise ship and played in the orchestra every single night. And that was the hardest gig I ever had because you would, at midnight, they would slip under your door a chart for what you were doing the next day, because on a cruise, every single night there's a different artist, whether it's a comedian one, but that was the easy night. You hit a cymbal on his jokes and you play him off and on. But there would be some nights we'd have to accompany this classical award-winning pianist and have to play these insane charts, or the big Broadway shows and magicians and whatever it may be, and it really kept you on your toes and really kicked my ass. And I was a kid, and I'm there with all these, older guys that had been, in orchestras and all this stuff. So, I just wanted to well-round myself so I can always make a living doing music and not just be that guy who, is one, even though at heart I'm a rock and all that's my favorite thing, but just wanted to, round myself in that world. So that's kind of just to recap, yeah, I mean, my family's a musical family, and I've been doing this since, I'm 3 years old. So I don't know, probably 30 something years I've been, playing, music, and probably professionally since I was 16 years old.
Yeah. So who was that first drummer that really kind of stood out to you? I've got, I could see John Bonham being one of them.
Yeah, I mean, my first cassette tape was Led Zeppelin with the record with Black Dog and Rock and Roll on it, and I learned to play to that cassette. But the first concert, which my parents are so rad, they took me to see Ozzy and Motley Crue at Nassau Coliseum in Long Island when I was 5. And Motley was on the Shout at the Devil tour, and Ozzy was on the Bark at the Moon. I mean, 2 amazing records. And when Tommy Lee came out and I saw a drummer who just owned it, and was such a showman in an arena.
Mm-hmm.
I knew right there at 5 years old, I was like, that's what I want to do. And Tommy inspired me to do that, just seeing, that. And then Tommy Aldridge was up next in Aussie. And I actually went to a master class with Tommy when I was pretty young and got to meet him. And like, there's some shit that he did that inspired me, like triple, double bass things that I kind of still do to this day. But, seeing those two guys in that concert, and, I mean, this story I've told a lot in my career, but just like such a full circle thing, down the road, I became really good friends with Tommy, and I actually filled in for him for 2 weeks. So you talk about a full circle, moment being, in the band for 2 weeks that inspired you. It's just, I still to this day don't even believe it happened. It's just such a surreal thing. And, my dad was there at the Motley show where I got to play, one of them. And, I just can't even imagine to inspire your child, and then they get to be in that actual group, and you're sitting there watching it. I mean, what a trip that was for him.
Yeah, if someone's like, hey, you're going to go sit in with the police, I'd be like, what? Really? Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, the whole time I was up there playing, it was a complete, just surreal, those 2 weeks were just a cloud. I mean, it was just insane, the whole experience. And, Tommy was still there, which is cool. He had a fucked up hand, but he was still, playing piano. He'd come out and talk to the crowd, and he'd, stand next to the kid on certain songs and hit some drums with his, good hand.
Yeah.
And, it was, so the fans weren't too bummed because he was still actually there.
He was still there, yeah. Yeah.
I wasn't getting rocks thrown at me, which I was like, oh, man, like, you go to see Motley Crue for Tommy Lee, and fuck, he's not here. Who the hell's this other guy? They actually had to turn the kit a little bit to see me because he had that 40-inch kick drum on that tour.
Yeah.
I'm so little, they fucking turned the kit a little bit to be able to, like, see me because that kick drum was so giant.
How was playing something like that? I mean,
it was rad. Like, it actually changed my style and everything because he's really tall, but he sits as low as the throne goes. And has all his stuff low. So for me, it was actually perfect. And the way the cymbals and everything were laid out flat and just heights. And then I started using his sticks because we both use a head. I started using his sticks and used those sticks literally until a couple months ago when a head and I finally got together and came up with my own stick that we kind of modeled off of that, but changed a bunch of things of it. So it really did help, because also I didn't have time there was no sound check or rehearsal. I showed up and they were like, the tech took me behind the kid. He's like, sit down, let me know if I need to adjust anything. And I'm like, actually, this is perfect. You don't need to touch anything. So he was stoked. And most of the kit is bolted down. It wasn't the roller coaster rig, but still, like, the kit just packs in a truck. They don't even break it down. So it was, like, kind of bolted. So, it was actually fine. And then I went back and retweaked my kit, based off of, like, how a lot of his stuff was more comfortable to kind of get around, and stuff like that. So it was kind of cool because you never really get to do that, and when you do, a lot of times it's always weird. But when you get and you're like, oh, wait, this makes sense. If I move this over here or this angle, it actually, like, changed a lot of my shit, which was cool.
That's an interesting way to put it. Yeah, because, a lot of times drummers get behind a kit and they're like, ugh, I don't like this. I got to change the ride. I've got to change the snare height. And, but you kind of went open-minded. It's like, I'm going to try to see if I can accommodate, his sensibilities with mine. And you came away from it like, oh, here's something I can take away and do something different. So that's always... Totally.
And there was a lot of fucking drums up there. I mean, there was the kick. There was, like, double kicks, a woofer and a main kick. One rack, 2 floor toms, and then 2 gong giant bass drums that are, like, on their side on either side of the kit. A shit ton of big cymbals. I mean, it was a lot of shit. But it was just so nicely done and placed out. You didn't have to reach far to get to anything. Like, for example, I got behind Bozio's kid at DW one day, and I'm like, he's like, go play, check it out. And I just looked at him. I'm like, Terry, don't even know what to do, bro. I don't even know where to start, what to do. I'm confused. I wouldn't even know what to start a beat on because there's like 3 snare drums where a snare drum should be. A million pedals. I don't even know where the hell they go. And everything's got a note written on it. And I literally just tapped and didn't even play a beat. And I was like, I'm good. That's just a whole nother fucking world that I don't understand.
I mean, talk about intimidating. Like you said, there's more pedals than most people have drums. It's insane. So
Totally.
so Street Drum Corps. So you founded that in
13 years ago.
13 years. Okay.
Literally the night I moved to LA, I met Bobby and Adam, and they're brothers, partners of mine, and they were from the East Coast originally, and we just hit it off, and we were in the same circle of friends, and I literally had a concert. Like, I moved into town, met them at a party, and then the next night had a gig, my first gig in town, and they got up and we did like Jane's Addiction 3 days, and they all like hovered around my floor time. We had this jam, and then just literally kept bumping into each other, and I took them to see Stomp, because one of my best friends from Long Island that I grew up with, he's been the lead in Stomp for, I don't even know, 14, 16 years or something like that. And they had never seen Stomp. So I was like, listen, he's playing in San Luis Obispo, which is, a short drive to, up there. Let's go see the show. And he's the lead. Like, you guys are going to love to see him just commanding the stage. I mean, the guy's such a talented musician. And they're like, oh, cool. Well, that afternoon, we're doing a drum show that we have called Bobby and Adam Alt's Experiment, and we're doing it at the Remo Center in the Valley, in LA.
Yeah.
So I go to check it out, and literally, they got 2 drum kits, a bunch of percussion, and then they have like a junk, buckets, and like kitchen shit section.
Yeah.
And shit, these guys are doing a trash show. I played in trash shows at theme parks on the East Coast and started my own 2-man show at the theme parks and private events, and kind of just gave it all up to, do the band thing in LA. And I'm like, what a fucking coincidence. This is so cool. So we drive up, we see Stomp, and after we go see Stomp, we're in like this college town bar, and my buddy from Stomp's like, let's jam. And I'm like, what do you mean jam? It's a fucking bar and there's just a DJ, And he goes, well, watch this. All of a sudden, the staff comes out with every found thing they have from the back. Buckets, garbage cans, ice pails, empty keg. The DJ stops, and we're in the middle of the dance floor, and we just go into it's like literally that we didn't talk about anything. John's just like 2, 3, 4, and we go into whatever we went into, and the entire place erupted, dancing around us, and it was such a magical thing. I'm like, there's something obviously here. And on the drive back to LA the next day, we're like, we got to start a group, and that's where Street Drum Corps was born. And we're like, let's go to a junkyard in downtown LA, and let's film it. Let's just bring our drumsticks, and let's just run through this thing, and let's edit it down, because Adam is an editor, and let's send it around. Like, Bobby knew the Warped Tour world, I knew the theme park world. We sent it around, just like, hey, this is our cool drum thing, like in this experiment. Didn't think anything would come back, and we get invited to go on the Warped Tour, and then we get a residency at Six Flags Magic Mountain.
Nice.
It was insane, and that's how that whole thing was, started. And I'm literally, when I get off the phone with you here, I'm going to be working on Street Drum. Right now, it's all the shows are being booked, and we're casting right now for all the productions. And this year is literally going to be our biggest year. Right now, we have about 20 state fair residencies confirmed, where I have, and they're all basically on the West Coast right now. So I have troops of drummers in Southern California and then in Northern California. And basically, I'll probably have, because a lot of these fairs overlap, I'll have 3 crews out of 3 drummers. So that's 9 drummers doing all the SoCal stuff, and 9 drummers doing all the NorCal and all the way up to, the West Coast. And then we have troops all over that do our Halloween stuff. A group in the East Coast and Middle America. So we have a lot of drummers that are trained that go out and work for us. For basically right now is the busy season where all the shows are getting booked. We're doing all the casting, auditions, getting ready. And, we self-run our company. I deal with all of, management and booking and all that kind of stuff. So it's kind of cool to be on the road, because I can just be locked in the hotel room and just get a bunch of work done. While I'm out here. So it's going to be a really, really good year. We're working on a couple new projects that, we'll be announcing soon. And as far as like performing in it, I really don't perform anymore because I'm just, I'm so busy with just running the company, which is more important these days. But, if there is anything ever, big thing. I mean, we did a couple world military tours, which was amazing.
Oh, yeah.
In the last couple of years, and then we did our big Las Vegas residency, which is kind of how me getting in Sum 41 started too, because Derek was our special guest opening night,
okay.
and that started the whole him and I playing together thing.
Oh, nice.
So that kind of came out of that. So, but yeah, Street Drum Corps is going strong. I mean, it's just gets bigger every year. It's something we're really proud of. It's a lot of hard work just to deal with all the logistics of having this many drummers and all that. But at the end of the day, the best thing is we get to hire local talent for a lot of these shows. Where you're based out of, we have a show there for Halloween, and we literally do auditions, and we cast 3 drummers and a fire performer locally, and they have work for a month and a half every weekend, and they literally are young kids that are so talented, and they become rock stars of these parks, and it really it's such a cool thing. And like, we'll go out there and train these casts and teams, and just to see these guys, after a week of insane rehearsals, become, these Street Drum Corps. They were timid guys on day one. By the end, they're shooting grinder sparks, and slamming kegs like maniacs. It's just such a cool transformation to see. And it's my favorite thing of, there's so many groups that only can do, one tour because it's, hey, we're the 3 original members and that's it. My whole thing was Magic Mountain is responsible for this. When we got our residency at Magic Mountain, the Used offered us a tour, and I said, hey, we're gonna have to bail out of the last couple of weeks of this because we just got an arena tour with the Used. And the owner of the park goes, listen, that's great, totally support it. He's like, but why don't you guys hire and train some guys to do what you guys do that are just like you guys, or I'm just gonna look for another drum group and hire them. So I was like, wait a second, hire other people that do what we do? I'm like, fucking genius. So that's how that started. We're like, so we're keeping the brand going. We're on a tour, and that's just kind of how it's gone, which is amazing. Just to have so many drummers, because we all know there's a million drummers in the world, and everyone needs work and all that. So it's been a really cool thing to give back to kids instead of having some jobs they don't want to be doing. I mean, some of our kids work for us spring through fall. They do all the fairs. One fair just goes to the next fair, to the next fair, and then it goes into the Halloween season, and that's their job for the year, which is pretty amazing.
And it's got a great combination, kind of like the Blue Man Group, because nobody really knows who the Blue Men are. They're just guys in purple blue masks. Where you guys, you can, like you said, assimilate more drummers into your group, and it doesn't have to be Frank. Or it can be anybody. No. Yeah. Exactly.
That's the thing, and it's we have our look and our vibe. I mean, we just got hired for the World Baseball Classic at Dodger Stadium, which is going to be huge. And
nice.
They were just like, we picked you guys because it's drumming. It's world music. There's influences of everything in there. The arm movements that we do are like taiko, tribute to taiko. There's Latin in there. There's there's all kinds of tribal, this and that. So it's kind of perfect because it's not just some band that's speaking, lyrics or this or that. It's just this kind of, drums are just a thing that moves people, and you don't have to speak, to have that big of a reaction.
Yeah, and it's very universal because you could have Nana, who doesn't like heavy metal music or anything like that, but will watch and Street Drum Corps for 45 minutes, because it's just drumming.
Exactly.
Yeah,
that's the thing. It really is a show for all ages. I mean, at these state fairs and all these things we do, I mean, you have from infants to grandparents, and they all love it, and our cast, we train them to be actual entertainers. You can sit there and play every lick in the book, but these people, this isn't a concert where you got musicians there, just judging you and this and that. These are people that want to be entertained. So you're an entertainer, first. It's about seeing that kid who's who's, going nuts and getting excited, acknowledging that kid, making that kid part of the show, giving him a stick and a pot to drum on, and those are the things that really go so far and keeps getting our company bigger and bigger, and it's like, that's the thing we teach in all of our training and stuff, is just about being, frontmen, frontmen and performers, and eye contact and smiling and acknowledging the audience and all the interaction. I mean, it's so important in all these different markets we're working in.
Yeah, totally.
Because it's not the DCI championship, It's it's the opposite of that. You know?
Those guys are wicked intense when it comes to.
Oh yeah.
Like, it's got to be musical. It's got to be this, and no, it's not. It's it can be fun. There can be some theatrics.
What's amazing is, we worked with the Las Vegas Vanguard when we had our residency in Vegas. And there was a bit in the show where we came out to the middle of the audience with our marching drums, and we did our song Volt, which is a marching piece. And we hired the Vegas Vanguard to come in from both sides of the back of the house and join us in the middle. And we're like, this is going to be rad. Us doing our street, style marching drums, and all of our marching drums, are all these crazy burnt holes in them, and they don't sound, they have real heads, regular heads on, they don't have the marching heads on them. I'm like, this is gonna be rad. But we were trying to teach them, like, halfway through, to break out of their thing and go into more like the arm movements and things like us. And their director was hysterical. He's like, these guys don't even know how to raise their hands over their heads and do like these big moves that you guys are doing, because they just don't do that stuff. So it's pretty funny trying to break them, break their character and get them, onto our side a little bit. Pretty funny.
Nice. So Sum 41. So that hearing that did you say Derek was at the show?
Yeah, he was a special guest.
Special guest, yeah. And having and then getting that connection, because I always tell everybody, timing is everything. When it comes to being a musician, a lot of it is talent, but sometimes it's timing. You can never really predict these things sometimes. So that leading into you joining Sum 41, how was that transition going from more of a obviously street drum corps to kind of a band, with all of that stuff?
I mean, I've always toured and, done the band stuff really since I moved to LA. I mean, I did a bunch of shows with Scott Weiland, with Gary Newman. I mean, a list of artists. I mean, I play with, Danny Harrison, who's George from the Beatles' son. So I'm always touring, and, because I need to, play in a band and get out there and do that, as well as, the whole street drum corps thing. So I always balanced both, and was jumping around between both. But, at that point, it was kind of perfect timing. Like, Derek's been a really good friend for many years, and he came out to Vegas and was our special guest for opening night of a residency, and like, it was the first time we played on stage together, and it really clicked, and it was really cool. And after that, he was like, you should come over to my house. I got a jam room set up, and we're always jamming, let's play a couple covers. And that just started, and around that time, his drummer had quit the band, and Sum 41 was on a hiatus. There was no talk of record recording, touring, nothing. It was just, we're just done right now and taking a hiatus. And, it just started getting more and more jamming and getting really closer as friends. And I went off to get married, and I came back from my honeymoon, and he called me from the hospital and told me, that his drinking had put him in the hospital. And, he had kidney and liver failure, and it was bad, and I went, and as soon as he got home, I went and visited him, and he was in bad shape, and I was just, there for him as a friend. And then when he just really wanted to start playing again, and, whenever he was feeling well enough to just pick up a guitar, I'd go over there and just jam with him, and then he was getting into, he had the home studio, and he wanted to start getting sounds and stuff. So literally, we moved the drum kit in every room of his house to see what room would sound good, what mics, what preamps. So I was always there, just to keep him inspired with coming back and all that. And then when things started getting serious, he invited the guys out to LA for like 2 weeks, and we just hung, we jammed, got to know each other, and then they officially offered me to be in the band. And we started writing the record and recording the record, and then my first show with the band was at the Cleveland Arena for the Alternative Press Music Awards. It was the band's first appearance back, and it also with the guitar. Dave Brown sounds back, the guitar player. It was a surprise that he was back, and so we did like a medley of a couple Sum 41 massive hits, and then DMC from Run DMC comes out, and we do a Run DMC medley.
Nice.
So it was fucking insane, and the thing is streaming to 1 million people. Just talk about a holy shit first gig, and then we literally went from there to like just festivals and finishing the record, and then we've just been on the road for over a year now. I mean, it was a year of touring before Christmas break, and we're not slow. I mean, we're booked solid. I mean, I go home for 3 weeks after this, and then we're back out full on until mid-June. And then we pick up again in July, and then August. So I mean, we're out this whole year pretty much. Yeah,
and you have a baby as well, right?
Yeah, I have a 1-year-old.
1-year-old. Okay, yeah. So, does your family travel with you when you do your stuff?
Yeah, we've. I mean, the thing is, I learned this by having a dog. If you throw them into the fire from day one, they're fine because they this is what they know. So we started traveling, flying and car trips and everything with the baby from birth. And this kid is the best traveler. It doesn't even faze him. He's fine. He's good. And we plan tours with family things in mind. Like when we did our fall tour, we took a 2-day break in Canada where our families came out, because me and the bass player both have babies that are young. Everyone else has wives and no kids yet. But, that was great to bring my kid to Montreal and have that family time. And then on this tour, because it was so long, we took a 4-day break in Munich, Germany, and my son got to come out. So this kid, he's got his passport. He's already been to Canada, Europe, all over America. So it's really cool to experience this with the family and have that. And then, I mean, I FaceTime every day, with him. And, I get to go home now. And then obviously when we tour in America, that's easier to have him come out or go out. But, we just really, make it work. My wife is amazing at holding the fort down while I'm gone, and she's so supportive. So, it just all works because I have a great wife, and, we have a great traveling baby who's just a happy, awesome kid. So it's just been, of course it's hard. I mean, I was able to be there for a lot of the first big milestones because we took a whole month off for me just to be in the hospital and be home and learn how to be a dad and help my wife, and all that. So, I don't feel like I'm missing so much. And when I'm home, I just really make up for the lost time and just really spend a lot of family time. But, this is just, it's my life. This is how I make my living, and even more now with the responsibilities of a family and all that. It's like, you got to work, and you never know how long your ride is going to be, and whatever, nothing's guaranteed in this world. So you just got to take advantage of these opportunities that you get, and just get the most out of it that you possibly can get while the train, you're on that train.
Exactly. Yeah, sure. I mean, when I was recording, 2 of my kids walked in while I was recording. I'm like, shush, 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 but you just kind of have to roll with it, and
that's everyone's got kids. Everyone understands. It's kids. They're awesome. It's all good. It's just, it is what it is.
Well, I just want to talk about your kit for a second, because that SJC kit you have is awesome.
Yeah, I mean, I have 2. I mean, I just switched over to them this summer. And it's been the greatest company to work with. I mean, I was with when I was in New York, I was with GMS, which is a great custom shop company. Then in LA, I moved to Orange County, and then when Orange County started, with Street Drum Corps, they built us some amazing shit. I mean, so many drums and things. And then when kind of they became Guitar Center, and all the drum builders that we were working with weren't there anymore and all that, we just went to DW because we were using their hardware. And wherever we were going, or where I was going with my touring, I was getting DW kits anyway, because there wasn't Orange County available, in this place. So no matter where you go in the world, literally, and I've been to the craziest places, there's a DW kit, So built that relationship, love everybody at DW. But it just came to a point where when we were talking about touring with Sum 41 and everything, I wanted to just create some kind of drum kit that was something that hadn't been done before, something custom, something, pretty amazing. And we just weren't able to figure it out with GW. And, I had known and admired everything about SGC, and I had a conversation with, Mike about how could we do this? I'm like, Shepard Fairey, one of the most iconic, artists and street artists, is a dear friend. He's been making, custom kick drum heads for me, painting them, by hand for different things I've done. And him and I have always talked about doing a drum kit. How do we get his art on a drum kit that's just not some like rap or something that just doesn't serve its, purpose of what it needs to be? And Mike's like, give me a week. He's like, I have some really cool ideas. Because I was on Warped Tour and I'm looking at some of these SJC kits. I'm like, how are they doing this? Like, this is not just a rap. This is, this is art, man. These guys are onto some shit. They got some machines that no one else has, or I don't know what's going on here. And also, I was in rehearsals with Cruella at in the Valley, and he's like, I'm going to send you a kit so you can actually like play a kit and live with it for a week and just see, if what you like. And I fell in love with just the tone of the drums, the way they felt. And he came back to me a week later and goes, listen, I know how to do this. I know how to actually etch his art into the shells of these drums and make them look the way they're supposed to look. Shepard Fairey produced the whole thing, was involved with us in SJC. And I mean, these drums came out so gorgeous. And we went with the mahogany wood, which with, they're big drums, but shorter depths of everything. So these drums really cut and deliver. And we made a duplicate of the shells and sizes for Europe, but with a different finish. We just went with just a black, like more satin finish with distressed red that I have over here in Europe. So they basically built me 2 kits and 2 snare drums. And I mean, as far as like just how amazing they are also with their marketing and promotion and just how they really take care of their artists with that stuff is so important now, with the social, they just get it. And it's amazing to be in a roster with amazing guys. I mean, Trey Cool's there, Josh from 21 Pilots, Jay Weinberg, Imagine Dragons, Rancid. It's like all these great bands with young drummers who are amazing. They're doing great shit. It's just a cool, great group of people to be with, and again, the drums are just amazing. And we're working on even some other special things right now that we'll be able to announce soon. But it's just like,
nice.
I just love to be with a company that really just gets it and really is into. And they're actually making my kid a kit right now because he got the total like as his first birthday gift, the plastic kit. And he's already ready for a bigger kit because it falls over,
it destroyed it,
and all that. So they make the club kits, which are like cocktail kits, like not cocktail, like jazzy little
bebop kits,
exactly, that's what I meant. And it's a pro kit, but it's just way smaller that he can fit behind. So they're making it now, which it's a kit that I'll have forever because I mean, it's adults can play, obviously play it too. So they're working on that for him right now because I'm like, he loves the drums, and it's not anything that I forced on him, but he just gravitated to anything that was shakers and percussive. He'd rather play with that than toys. And then when he's around my kit, when I bring him out on the road, I mean, the gong, the drums, and he knows what to do. Like he knows, what it is, and he loves my little warm-up kit in the dressing room. So yeah, he's a full drummer already.
That's cool.
Which is crazy.
Yeah, I've got my kit set up in my kid's playroom, so it doesn't get touched.
Nice.
So I mean, it's there.
Amazing.
But I haven't really said go play it. It's more or less hey, it's there. If you want to play it, have at it. So cool. Well, I always like to end on this one question because it's always something I find intriguing. Is do you have a hobby outside of playing drums, and what is it? Or do you not have one?
No, totally. I mean, the biggest thing I'm looking forward to doing when I get home is running again. I have the most amazing canyons by my house that I go running in, and it's like the most therapeutic, meditating, most amazing thing just to run these challenging, crazy, kind of hill things for a couple miles and just be free and look at the beautiful, nature in California. I really love, training with working out, with, running the mountains. And then, I'm just really into, food and cooking and, stuff like that too. So, all these things I'm excited to get back to after being on the road for 9 weeks and just having catering every day with a menu that you don't get to control. And, kind of all that stuff. So it's just, it's kind of things like that, that, is fun. And then just as much, different traveling, like more of the vacation traveling, that you get to pick where you want to go and, on your own, but, to places that my wife and I haven't been to, and just, we always want to new experiences and new places and things. And, and then just family, just as much family time as possible. We're both really close with both of our families that, don't live the closest to us. So that's always, figuring out, that stuff as well.
Yeah.
But, those are like my, and just being a dad, those are my like non-drumming, if you want to call them like hobbies, but just like, my favorite stuff to do when I'm not behind a kid,
Yeah. Well, it keeps you grounded, it keeps you, as much as I love drumming, sometimes you can get burned out from playing, and you got to have that one thing you can go to kind of, restart and then refocus and then, go back at it. So like me, I'm a movie guy. So that's how I, blast theme is watch movies, hang out with my family, play video games with my sons. So, things like that.
Yep.
Yeah.
That's another good thing. Cause on this tour, all the TVs here are in basically except for UK and, you can't watch it because it's in other languages except for like BBC, and I don't want to watch depressing, news. So it's like I've just been on, on iTunes just watching like all the series and stuff that I like at home, on days off in the hotels, and then on the bus I'll just read, and it's funny you say like being burnt out. That's what everyone keeps asking. Like, you guys have, you're on your 41st of 43 shows, you guys are playing 2 hours a night. Are you burnt? Are you? And I'm like, no, we're actually ending so strong right now. The band is just so tight and on fire. It's, you wouldn't think that, but it's just been so good. And, the band's playing so well. And we even, we've been changing the set list every night. On this tour, we've actually played every song from the new record,
Nice.
Not obviously in all in one night.
Yeah.
We keep changing, like we keep flipping 3 songs throughout the set. Like, we do play the 3 singles every night from the record, but the other songs we'll put in spots that we rotate. So we're constantly challenging ourselves to, to change up the set, which keeps you totally fresh. You don't get into that, autopilot mode. And then we did a special record release show in UK at some tiny little like bar basically for one of the big record stores there, and we played like all these crazy B-sides that I had never played live with the band, which was really, really cool. B-sides, deep album tracks, all the shit that we normally don't, because we were playing the Brixton Academy the next night, and we're like, the same people are going to go and hear all the hits. Like, let's just do something special and different. So at soundcheck, and that's the thing, we soundcheck every day and rehearse and just constantly working on, ways to enhance the show. And, in this band, I'm doing kind of 3 things up there. I'm drumming, I'm doing a lot of the gang vocals and rappy shit, yells and whatever. And then I'm also running a lot of stuff on electronic pads, which a lot of things from the record I'm actually physically playing. Like, we don't use any playback, no backing track. Like, there's really cool sampley or keyboardy things from the record that I actually have the stems of, and I'm playing with my left hand on a lot of stuff. To have, because I love when bands play shit from the record live that you wouldn't expect. There's certain sounds they'll just normally throw that shit away and not do it. So I was like, give me all these parts and all these stems and things because I want to actually play them. So I had to like sacrifice like some drumming, to be able to play these things, which is like taking your fucking ego and whatever. And you're like, fuck that fill. I'd rather hear this awesome sonic, part there. So I've had to, like, on certain things, sacrifice that, but it's worth it for the overall sonic, experience. So, I want to actually play these things, which is like taking your fucking ego and whatever. You're like, fuck that fill. I'd rather hear this awesome sonic, part there. So I've had to, like, on certain things, sacrifice that, but it's worth it for the overall sonic thing of the performance. So I'm
Yeah.
kind of just like literally, left hand is doing samples and keyboard lines or whatever it may be.
Nice.
So that was really, crazy to learn in the beginning to put all that shit together. But it's fun, to be able to bring that, they had never done that in this band, previously. So it was cool to bring that element, into this band, just to make the overall, sonic part of the show, even better.
And keep it fresh, like you said. Keep it, interesting
Totally.
to play.
Totally.
Well, cool, man. Well, I appreciate you being on.
Yeah. Thank you.
I'm incredibly honored that you reached out to me and we worked this out. So where can people?
Totally. I mean, that's.
Oh, yeah.
This is a good thing about social media, just seeing your stuff keep popping up online, and I was like, this is, I'd love to do this, and definitely let me know when you're ready to go, and please email me any social media stuff to post, the link for it, and I'll circulate it through my personal stuff, through the band stuff, and even I'll have my publicist go circulate it as well too, so we can get some nice traction, let all the fans hear it and check it out. So just definitely send me all that stuff when you're ready with it, and I'll blast it out for sure.
I will definitely do that. So where can people find you on the interwebs?
Just everything
everywhere.
Is just, at Frank Zummo or at Sum 41 at Street Drum Corps on every social media outlet and all that kind of stuff. And then I'll be I still play with Cruella. So, we have some stuff coming up later this year. We toured earlier this year, and it's kind of perfect scheduling. Well, I'm out on this. They're out doing a bunch of just DJ-only shows, so it kind of worked out perfectly. But that's another way to stay fresh, too. It's so fun to just go from this EDM world to the rock world, then to the street, drumming world. I mean, those are my three things, and it's just really cool to just constantly go between those things. I mean, I've even had to on the road literally fly from a Cruella show to a Sum 41 show within 24 hours to do both shows, and
nice.
It's like it's awesome just to really have that. Just for yourself and for everything, just really keep you on your toes. And that drumming in that world is so insane. It's something that I wish every drummer could experience, because it's such a different world where you're the beat doesn't stop. In that world, there's no hey, we're gonna tune the guitar, we're gonna talk to the crowd about what the song's about. The fucking beat does not stop for an hour and a half in those shows. And literally a band will play maybe 20 songs max in an hour set. There we're playing like 4 songs, because they'll just go from a riff of a song to a chorus before you can even think about what you're doing. You're 3 songs past that. So just for your brain, it's a really good exercise to really keep you on your toes, because it's so quick, so fast moving. And with the girls, anything could change. Like, it's all done live with them, and we'll have our set but they could be like, listen, this type of beat or tempos aren't going over, and these are. So they have a microphone that goes to our in-ears, and they're like, listen, we're doing this, it's 4 on the floor vibe and whatever, and you just fucking go for it. It's like
nice.
They're just up there in the DJ booth as air traffic controllers, just and it really keeps you on your toes. I mean, I remember we went on stage at some like stadium one night, and the promoter's like, hey, we got to cut the show short because of something, so we need you to play a half hour less. So the girls are literally remaking the set on the spot, and you're just like, holy shit, we rehearsed for a week. This set, I got in my, whatever, and now we're not even doing any of that. You just rewritten the set and move things around and whatever. So it's a really good brain thing to really keep you on your toes, and those shows and productions and the audience is fucking insane. It's such an insane world. It's just such a party, it's really cool.
Well, cool, man. Well, anytime you want to be back on the podcast, just let me know. I'd love talking to you.
Definitely, man.
Yeah.
I'm down. Let's stay in touch for sure.
For sure, man. And so thank you again. So I'm just going to go ahead and hit stop real quick on the recording.